Networking is one of those terms heavily used today that has many different connotations. Some of them are positive, others are probably more self-serving. What I'd like to focus on today is networking and using the power of networking to achieve higher performance with others. First of all, I'll talk about some examples from some research that was done about the importance of building networks in the job situation. Then we'll talk a little bit about why networks are important, and finally look at ways to build high-quality networks. First of all, these are examples taken from some research done, newly hired engineers working into an organization as they're building their networks. This example came from one of the people that had just started the job. So he asked a coworker, "Who do I talk to?" And then the coworker would kind of be like, "Okay, I think it's this person," and then he'll just look up the name for me real quick and let me know. This is an example of beginning the process of building your network in a job situation. Another example from the new hires was, "My coworkers are approachable, but you kind of get the feeling like, don't bother me." You can go ask them questions and stuff like that, but then their cell phone rings or something comes up. So there's this feeling of ask questions, but don't take too much of my time. These are two extreme examples of starting a network in a very positive way and also trying to start a network and having more negative results come from that. Other things that you try and do with your network is obtain membership into a group or into a structure. I felt part of the group within 2 months, going to lunch with them, talking to them about non-work stuff. The other new hires, like, we'll go out to movies during the weekends. We have a lot of interaction. A different sort of experience that a new hire had. Of the companies I've worked at, this one is really not very quick to accept new people, in that there is the company lifer mentality, that if you don't come here at the beginning of college and we're not raised in the company perspective and way of life, then why should we trust you? And again, I'm choosing these to show the extremes of possibilities as people start to build their networks. Getting known by others in the organization is also a very important responsibility when you start out. This person told me that people say it's who you know. I said, well, it's not really who you know. The question is, who knows you? We'll come back to that later on in this discussion. Another example was, first of all, being at the company, everybody wants to get to the eighth level. They want that, and of course they say the 8th level is one of the most difficult levels to get to unless you know someone. A third example, the projects I get are a big indication to me, my boss trusts me with some very highly visible things where I'm meeting people very high up in the company. Now these are all examples of where it's very important for these people to become known in the organization. Let's talk a little bit now about why networks are important. Think about knowledge networks in organizations as high-speed infrastructures for sharing knowledge and overcoming knowledge deficits. Through your networks, you can tap into interdisciplinary resources. This becomes very important for trying to collect other points of view and reach other constituencies. Networks also help you manage an overload of information. And finally, networks can leverage your expertise. This is very important because you think about the things that you know or don't know, and if you think about it, 2 people can create far more than 1 person because of the increased level of expertise that they can bring to a situation. So leveraging your expertise is very important. You can only do so much as 1 person, but you can do far more when you start networking in with other people. Networking, think about it as developing a community with the resources to accomplish higher results. Networks can have dramatic effects on the quality, quantity, and speed of your output. Networks are one of the primary drivers for leveraging your knowledge base. An enhanced knowledge base for everyone. Now, often some of the negative connotations related to networks are when people start thinking about it as, what can I get from someone else? Well, the important thing is to think about also as an interaction or a two-way street. So you should first of all realize, how much do you know but how much more could you know through a network? And how much more can other people know by banding together as a network? Think of networks also as a search engine or a source to find necessary information. Again, very important to know what you don't know and find out who knows it. This is a type of distributed knowledge system that you have access to. And again, the individual versus the network is an important distinction to make. Very often, especially in Western civilizations, we have been educated and trained to be self-reliant. Many of our institutions and a lot of the social norms and expectations really look at the individual hero in organizational settings. But the real work and the real high-quality expertise comes from building, maintaining, and operating within a group of experts. And most important of all, networks are built on two-way relationships. A lot of the research that we've looked at really is grounded on this idea of relationships. So let's look at what high-quality networks are made of and the foundation of relationships that they are based on. Almost all of the information and data gathered through these interviews with new hires had a basis of relationship building throughout. And the quality of the relationships that these new hires could build had a tremendous effect on the quality of learning that they had on the job. It had a huge effect on the quality of their performance, and it also had effects on their job satisfaction and commitment to their careers. So the quality of your network can make or break your career. This was a very important finding from this research. Now, if you think about relationships, other research from psychology has shown that one model is built upon three facets of a relationship. At the top, we've got inclusion, and what this does is it deals with the ideas of being accepted, gaining membership into a group or a network, becoming integrated, and having some significance within the group. Very important. If you're not accepted as a member of the group, or if you're excluded from a network, that effectively locks you out from a lot of the information and the higher performance levels that you could achieve. Another very important aspect of relationship is the amount of control that the members have within this network. So how is power distributed? Are you a dominant member or a submissive member? Are others dominant or submissive in this? These sorts of relationships develop these different facets. And then finally, there's a very important emotional reaction among people. And it's called affection in this model, but it has to do with liking or similarity. People generally, obviously, do not like to work with people that they don't like. So having some sort of a bond or an emotional attachment to other people is very important. So inclusion, becoming a member of the network, having a effective sharing of power within the network, and also liking the people you work with is a good model to think about how these relationships form within a network. So when we go to measure the quality of the relationships, you think about responsibility. If you're a member of a network, are you given responsibility from your boss or from other colleagues? Do they trust you? Do you trust them? Is there a mutual respect, mutual obligation? How frequently do you interact with each other? And what kinds of levels of support can you expect from others, and can others expect from you? All of this has to do with knowing more about the people in the network than just accomplishing the job tasks. So